Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy for the idea of behind hypothesis testing. If you click through and listen to the lesson already for this chapter and the last chapter, you know already that we're sort of using this courtroom analogy to go with what the hypothesis test tells you. But if you've never really been involved in court proceedings, it might not be the easiest thing for you to understand. So I thought I'd give you another analogy to kind of help you think your way through this. And this sort of presumes the idea that you've heard the story of the boy who cries wolf um, before. So picture this, you're the farmer, and this is you in the city, and here's the boy watching your sheep. The sheep has to be cute so that you'll actually want to save it when the wolf shows up. Um, and the idea is that the boy is going to watch your sheep, and if he sees a wolf, he is going to, cry out and let you know so you can come running with, like your pitchfork to come save the day and stop the thing from killing your sheep, and that's okay. So the problem is that the boy you hired is, I don't know, just a little bit more of a mischievous bastard than you prepared for, so I'm giving him a terrible grin. Um, so your null hypothesis, your starting assumption is that if this little guy with his terrible haircut because he's a child starts yelling out, "Hey, I need help," it must mean that there's the wolf coming around, eating things, and generally tearing up your livestock. Damn it, the wolf is better looking than the sheep. Okay, well that happens. Um, and the alternative is that something else is going on. Maybe there's wolf, maybe there isn't. I don't know. The alternative we're going to leave as sort of, I'm not really sure for now, because one of the things we're going to learn as we go through hypothesis testing with other options besides just one variable is that your alternative hypothesis can be lots of things that aren't necessarily, just a less than, or greater than, or a greater than or equal to. Wait, greater than, no equal to. But nulls are still always statements about equality. So this always remains true. So the idea is, you're dooting along doing farmer things, and all of a sudden, you hear this little guy yelling out. And so you run your way up the mountain and you arrive to see what's going on, aka you arrive and you look at the evidence. And so you might see, the little guy just standing there being like, ha 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 ha, you ran really far, and I find that super funny because, he's a jerk. And therefore you're like, okay, well, I look at my evidence and clearly my sheep is still alive. It appears that, there was no wolf. Now, that doesn't mean there was no wolf. You might have just arrived and the wolf wasn't there, but, that's because you hired a shady dude to watch all your sheep, and that's your own fault. And we're going to talk more about that when we hit chapter 12 and we start talking about types of error. And this would be like, you arrive, your evidence looks like, hey, there was no wolf, but maybe there was a wolf. You just didn't see him and he didn't happen to kill anything, so, you didn't see what was going on. It might be that you arrive and, this cute little bastard up here has died, you know. Oh god, now I gotta draw a dead sheep. Sad face sheep. There you go. In which case you're like, aha, the wolf was here, and I see evidence of his presence, and he has killed things, and I have evidence that this happened. Well, you have some evidence that this happened. It might be that your sheep happened to die of natural causes, in which case your conclusion doesn't really match what you had originally. However, this is usually what we do, and that's exactly why we don't take our evidence and say, this is the absolute truth. There was a wolf, there wasn't a wolf. We say, it looks like the evidence points to that. It points to there was no wolf or there was a wolf. It doesn't mean that you absolutely can say that he was there, because by the time you arrive, you look at the evidence, that's all you got. You don't necessarily see the wolf. And that's exactly how this works. So there's a little bit of a better analogy for you with some terrible cartoons about dead sheep. And I'm hoping this helped you make sense of what's going on with hypothesis testing.